Okay. So like the way this track goes, I like have been really like pushing myself to like my rule was at first it was like 4 patterns makes a song, or originally it was like 8 patterns makes a song, and then it went down to 4 patterns makes a song, and then it was like 2 patterns is all you need for a song if you know how to perform. And now literally it's 1 pattern for this whole song. And I've done some other songs and they were very minimalish, and they are just 1 pattern because it's really all about I don't know, you don't want too much change going on. It gets overwhelming. But sometimes I like to just like jam a ton of melodic content into you heard that into my music, because I really like melodies. I just like, you know, chord stab here and like some plucks here and da 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 da. But I love like the minimal stuff because I don't know what it is. It's soothing to me, and the just as I've grown up or grown into electronic music, or I'm finding like, you know, I didn't used to listen to jazz, and I prefer listening to jazz without vocals. Why do I like doing that? I don't really know. I end up listening to more of that than I do like the indie rock that I grew up loving and the bands that I played in. And when it comes to electronic music, I typically listen to like some really minimal stuff because I just don't want too much going on. I think it's because I'm trying to like de-stress, and I find this music like very calming for me. And I'm one of those people who needs to be calmed down because I'm like an internal combustion engine going insane. So I'm going to play my little minimal techno track for you. I have my headphones on, which means that I can hear the bass adequately. And it's a little bassy. I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'm going to get some new speakers to kind of deal with that. But anyway, here goes my track. I designed some new scenes for my entire Octatrack template for those of you who have used the template and are into it. Yeah, right? It's so fun. Yeah. De-stress express. And I'll go over this cool new effect. I actually named it DP, which stands for Daft Punk, because this just, and I'll just play it real quick so you can just hear it. So this is the Daft Punk effect. That's it. But it grabs any moment and makes a perfect little loop with that like bandpass sound. It's got a little lo-fi and a little bit of chorus to like warble it through the stereo-ness. And I use it a lot in this song because it's just good. It's just real good. Anyway, so here's the little track. We start out with kick and bass, and this bass line is actually the Prophet 5, which you probably, a lot of you know that I adore it, and it's wonderful. So yeah, and this kick is actually the analog 4. Yeah. The kick is the analog 4 and with some overdrive in the Digitac. And yeah, Prophet 5. It's so good, dude. It's so good. And so I took the kick and I kind of like I got the 4 on the floor kick, right, because we're doing minimal techno, but these other kicks are like repitched and low passed so that they kind of, and I also move them around the stereo spectrum to make them be more like toms, or like there's somebody at a drum kit. It's a nice feeling. It gets a nice groove. So anyway, when I perform, I want to have my mutes available to me, and then know what I'm doing next. So it opens up with the low pass here, and we cruise down, turn off our kick, turn on these little percussions, and we're going to turn on this snare, which I would do this faster, but I'm going to roll into it. And the very, you heard that psh, that splash? That's because the very last snare in my snare rolls is just soaked in reverb. So only if it makes it to the end of the snare roll will it blow the reverb like that. Okay. So I have these little percussion dealies all over on track 7. And they're just little snare samples that I had and kind of messed with. And they're just, some of them are like got these little loops and they're like off time on purpose to kind of, to just kind of mess with your head a little bit. They're fun. But I have some simple rules. So once I bring in the hi-hat next to track 7 and track 6 don't ever play at the same time. That's like one of the rules to keep things as minimal as possible. So this is where I would go into my little Daft Punk effect. We're going to bring in these hats and a vocal sample, which is me. Here we go. Go over to the chorus here. When I use the chorus, I take the kick out because the chorus is too strong. Yeah, actually I'm making a new template just for Digitac Octatrack, so it won't be that exactly. It will actually, I think I'm gonna have it be through track, neighbor, 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 maybe even another neighbor track, maybe. But I might actually start using a couple sample tracks and actually like put the vocal samples on the Octatrack, but I don't really need to do that. Or I was gonna use 3 different loopers of the Digitac that were different loop lengths, just to make things weird. So then I will arm my record buffer on track 7. Oops. And then I will do this. Time it with the bass. Go to that recorded version of it. Then I can get ready to do something else. Like maybe take that out and bring the hi-hat. Now we got, as soon as you bring in the hats on a 3, 11, 7, and 15, it's just, you really feel like you're in the groove at this point. You can go over here, you can save your pattern to a temporary spot. It's fun to record stuff like that. So you have your Octatrack ready to record, go over here. We can like go right into like the tape stop effect and then into this. There we go. Okay. And that's a smooth transition, and we're still only on pattern 1. And I feel like we have really got to another part of the song, and we're already a couple minutes in. Go over to our bass line here, and we'll pair it with the chorus. Use our filter, and we kind of have to hot knob the filter because if you move the filter knob with the parameter locks on it, it will catch in weird spots. So you gotta go dot dot and do these little taps. So we'll take start bringing this in. Now it's got kind of another new feel to it. Okay, over here. Still on pattern 1. Bring our vocal back in. Makes you want to move for sure. Then we go just And that's it. I think that's one pattern for an entire song, right? Not bad. Yeah, there's just like, it's hard to find good effects that go with techno stuff, right? So I found like the chorus sounds really good on the bass line, but it doesn't sound good on the drums. So you have to take some of the drums out when you move over to the chorus, and you can't have it stay there for too long because it just like, it's too much, it's overwhelming. So it's like just a little give and take when it comes to that. You don't want to high pass for too long because it sounds like it gets really boring. The low pass is just using your low pass filter with a snare roll is one of the coolest things you can do. You take your kick out, you go into that low pass filter, and then you start your snare roll, take your kick out. So there's some real anticipation here. It's very satisfying, and it's super simple. I mean, you do have to stretch your fingers. You have to have kind of like, I don't know, I have big hands, I think I do. And you have to do this at the same time, so you do have to feel pretty comfortable on both machines. But I keep thinking about how much fun this would be to have 2 Digitacs in an Octatrack. It would be just delightful. You could, instead of it being like, okay, 16 tracks, don't think of it as 16 tracks, or at least that's not how I would think of it. I would think of it as 8 tracks that can play at once. So it wouldn't be maybe you'd use more than 8, but for the most part you would have 8 tracks maximum. But with those 8 other tracks, they would be variations on the same pattern. So I wouldn't have to go to pattern 2. I could stay on pattern 1 and bring out more elements and mess with more elements. It would also let me like split up the drums on 2 different inputs on the Octatrack. So I could really, wow, that actually sounds like a really good idea. I gotta find another Digitac. Sometimes you find them pretty cheap. Yeah, didn't mean to have that playing. I don't know if you could even hear me talking over that.